Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayashva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaye Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे हरे जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्तवृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद श्री चैतन्य भागवत आदि खंड chapter 12 the Lord's wandering throughout Navadvipa. All glories to Mahaprabhu Sri Gaura Sundara. All glories to the followers of the Lord. In this way, Sri Gaura Sundara, with book in hand, always enjoyed pastimes in Navadvipa. He challenged any teacher he would meet, but none of them had the power to defeat him. Although he was simply a student of grammar, he nevertheless considered the learned Bhattacharyas to be as insignificant as grass. The self-satisfied Lord travelled throughout Navadvip along with his most fortunate students. One day, by providence, the Lord met Mukunda on the road. The Lord held Mukunda's hand and spoke to him. Why do you run away as soon as you see me? Let me see how you run away today without answering me. Mukunda thought, how will I defeat him today? He is well versed only in grammar. I will defeat him with questions on Alankara. Then he may not again display his pride before me. Thereafter, Mukunda began to ask the Lord questions. Whatever Mukunda established, the Lord would refute. Mukunda said, grammar is studied only by children. Today we shall discuss Alankara. The Lord replied, as you desire. Mukunda then read some of the most difficult yet well-known verses and asked the Lord to point out any faults. The omnipotent Lord Gaurachandra then pointed out various faults in the verses. Mukunda was unable to re-establish what the Lord had refuted. The Lord then smiled and said to him, go home for today and study your books carefully. Come early tomorrow and we will discuss further. After Mukunda took the dust from Nimai's feet and departed, he thought, an ordinary human being cannot possess such knowledge. There is no literature that he is not conversant with. If such an intelligent person was a devotee of Krishna, then I would not leave his association for even a moment. In this way, the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed the life of a scholar. One day, while wandering about Navadvipa, Nimai met Gadadhara. The Lord smiled as he caught Gadadhara's hands and said, aren't you studying logic? Come, let us debate. Gadadhara said, so question me. And Nimai asked, what are the symptoms of liberation? Gadadhara then explained the symptoms of liberation according to the scriptures. But Nimai countered, you don't know how to explain properly. So he's criticizing. Gadadhara then said, liberation is freedom from misery. This is the meaning of liberation according to the scriptures. Then the Lord, who is the husband of goddess Saraswati, pointed out various faults in his statement. There was no one who could defeat his arguments and silence him. No one even dared to speak with the Lord, and thus Gadadhara thought, I will be relieved to get out of here. The Lord said, Gadadhara, you can go home today, but come early tomorrow so we can discuss more. Gadadhara offered his respects to Nimai and went home. And Nimai continued to wander through the streets of Navadvipa. Everyone considered Nimai a most learned scholar, so they treated him with awe and reverence. Every afternoon, Nimai would sit on the bank of the Ganges with his students. The Lord's body is served by Lakshmi, the daughter of the ocean. His beauty surpasses that of Cupid and is therefore incomparable throughout the three worlds. Surrounded by his students, Sri Sachi Nandana would give explanations on the scripture. In the evenings, all the Vaishnavas also gathered on the bank of the Ganges. As they listened to Nimai's explanations from a distance, they felt both happiness and lamentation. One of them said, if anyone who possesses such beauty and knowledge does not worship Krishna, there is no benefit. They all replied, Dear brother, anyone who sees him runs away in fear of facing his challenge. Someone else said, when he sees someone, he doesn't allow him to leave. He captures him just like a tax collector captures a debtor. Another said, this Brahmana has uncommon potency. I think he must be some great personality. Although he constantly asks shrewd questions, we still get great satisfaction just by seeing him. We've never seen such knowledge in an ordinary person. Our only regret is that he doesn't worship Krishna. The Vaishnavas all requested each other, bless Nimai so that his mind will be fixed on Krishna. Then they all offered their obeisances on the bank of the Ganges and blessed Nimai with a prayer. O Krishna, please let the son of Jagannath Mishra become absorbed in you without deviation. So it's a good example of how devotees can pray for other devotees. Let him constantly worship you in love. O Lord, please let us have such association. As the super soul, the Lord knows the heart of all living entities. Whenever he saw devotees like Srivas, he would offer them his respects. The Lord accepted the devotee's blessings on his head. For devotional service to Lord Krishna is attained only by the blessings of devotees. So again, very important point. Devotional service to Lord Krishna is attained only by the blessings of devotees. Someone also directly told Nimai, why are you wasting your time with mundane education? Another person said, look, Nimai, what do you gain from studying? Just worship Krishna. Why do people study? Education is only for understanding devotional service of Lord Krishna. If that purpose is not served, then what is the use of your education? The Lord smiled and said, I am most fortunate, for you are all teaching me that devotional service to Krishna is the essence of all education. So the Lord is not rejecting it or saying, how can you teach me? He's thanking them. He's saying, I'm most fortunate because you're all teaching me. I sincerely feel that one who is blessed by all of you is most fortunate. I've already decided that after teaching a while longer, I will go serve a pure devotee. After saying this, the Lord smiled at his servants. By his influence, however, no one could recognize him. In this way, Nimai attracted the heart of everyone. There is no one who escaped his power of attraction. This is one of the qualities of a devotee. Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that everyone is actually satisfied, attracted by pure devotee. And the pure devotee also satisfies everybody by his actions. Sometimes the Lord sat on the bank of the Ganges and sometimes he wandered the streets of Navadvipa. Whenever the residents saw the Lord, they would welcome him with great respect. When the ladies saw Gaura, they said, "Here is Cupid himself. Let women receive such a treasure birth after death, birth after birth." All the scholars saw him as equal to Brihaspati, and even elderly men offered obeisances at his lotus feet. The yogis saw the Lord as the personification of mystic perfection, and the miscreants saw him as the personification of death. If the Lord spoke with someone just once, that person was bound by ropes of love. Although everyone heard about how the Lord was proud of his scholarship, they still loved him dearly. Even the Yavanas felt love for the Lord's characteristic is to show mercy to all living entities. The Lord of Vaikuntha taught his students in the courtyard of the fortunate Mukunda Sanjaya arguments, counter arguments, establishing and refuting the meaning of a sutra. These were all explained in various ways by the son of Mother Shachi. Although they could not understand the Lord's explanations, the fortunate Mukunda Sanjay and his family all floated in waves of ecstasy. After completing his teaching at school, the Lord of Vaikuntha returned home still absorbed in his scholastic pastimes. One day, on the pretext of sickness due to excessive gas, the Lord manifested transformations of ecstatic love. The Lord suddenly uttered some unworldly sounds. Then he laughed as he rolled on the ground and nearly damaged the house. He roared loudly and challenged everyone like a wrestler. Then he beat whoever he could catch. Again and again, his entire body became stunned and he fell unconscious in such a way that people were frightened. When Nimai's friends and relatives heard about his gastric disorder, they came running to treat him. Buddhimanta Khan, Mukunda Sanjaya, and their associates all came to the Lord's house. They applied some medicinal oils on the Lord's head and tried to cure him any way they could. The Lord performs various pastimes by his own sweet will. How can he be cured by some external remedies? All the limbs of the Lord shivered. He shouted loudly in such a way that everyone was frightened. He then declared, "I am the Lord of all. I maintain the universe. Therefore, I am named Vishwambhara. I am the Supreme Lord, but no one recognizes me." Saying this, the Lord tottered and everyone tried to catch him. In this way, the Lord manifested himself on the pretext of gastric disorder, yet by the influence of his illusory energy, no one could understand him. Someone said he's been possessed by a demon. Someone else said this is the work of a witch. Another said, since he's always speaking, it is certainly a gastric disorder. In this way, everyone gave different opinions. But by the influence of the Lord's illusory potency, no one could understand the truth. They applied various medicated oils on the Lord's head, and then they put him in a wooden tub filled with oil and rubbed his body. Immersed in that oil, the Lord began to laugh as if a terrible gastric disorder had actually infected him. While thus enjoying his pastimes according to his own will, the Lord became normal, as if relieved of his gastric disorder. Everyone then chanted the names of Hari in ecstasy, and in jubilation they distributed cloth to one another without discrimination. Everyone was pleased to hear about the Lord's recovery, and they blessed him. Such a scholar should live a long life. In this way, the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed his pastimes. Who can understand these pastimes unless the Lord reveals them? When all the Vaishnavas saw the Lord, they told him, "Dear Nimai, please worship the lotus feet of Krishna. This body is temporary, it may be vanquished the next moment. But you are a sober person, what can we teach you?" The Lord smiled at the Vaishnavas and offered them obeisances. Then he left for school with his students. The Lord taught his students in the Chandi Mandapa within the courtyard of the fortunate Mukunda Sanjaya. As the Lord began to teach, his head was smeared with fragrant medicated oil that was given by some pious person. Nimai, the life of the universe, sat and taught in the midst of his many fortunate students. I am unable to describe or give a comparison for that wonderful scene. It appeared that Lord Narayana was sitting in Badrika Ashrama, surrounded by his disciples headed by Sanaka. Lord Gaurachandra now enjoyed the same pastimes as when Lord Narayana personally taught his disciples. Sri Sachinandana is certainly that same Lord Narayana who resides in Badrika Ashrama. Therefore, the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed those same pastimes while relishing scholastic pleasures with his students. After teaching, at midday, the Lord would take his students for bath in the Ganges. The Lord sported in the waters of the Ganges for some time and then returned home to worship Lord Vishnu. Then, after watering and circumambulating Tulasi, the Lord recited the name of Hari as he sat down to eat. Lakshmi served rice and the Lord of Vaikuntha ate. The pious Mother Shachi watched to her full satisfaction. After finishing his meal, the Lord chewed betel nuts and then lay down while Lakshmi massaged his lotus feet. After taking some rest, the Lord again went out with his books. Nimai enjoyed various pastimes in the city and smiled as he talked with the residents. Although no one knew his real identity, the residents still offered him respects whenever they saw him. Although Sri Sachinandana is rarely seen by even the demigods, he now wandered through the streets of Navadvipa within the sight of all. One day the Lord went to the house of a weaver, and the weaver respectfully offered him obeisance. The Lord said, "Bring one nice piece of cloth." And the weaver immediately brought some cloth. The Lord then asked, "What is the price of this cloth?" The weaver replied, "Give me whatever you like." After settling the price, the Lord said, "I don't have any money right now." The weaver then said, "Oh Gosai, you can give me in 10 or 15 days. You take the cloth and happily wear it. You can pay me whenever you please." After mercifully glancing at the weaver, the Lord continued on to the house of a cowherd. Mahaprabhu sat down on his veranda and began to make fun of the activities of the Brahmanas. The Lord said, "Oh son, bring me some milk and yogurt. Today I am going to accept charity from your house." The cowherd men thought Nimai looked just like Cupid. They respectfully offered him a nice asana. They began to joke with the Lord and address him as uncle. One of them said, "Come, uncle, let us go eat some rice." Then one of them took Nimai on his shoulder and carried him to his house. Another said, "Don't you remember how you previously ate all the rice in my house?" Although the cowherd boys didn't realize it, by the grace of the transcendental goddess of learning, Saraswati, whatever they spoke was true. Meanwhile, Nimai simply smiled at their words. All the Gopas then happily offered the Lord milk, ghee, yogurt, cream, and butter. After being satisfied by the Gopas, the Lord went to the house of a perfume merchant. The merchant offered his respectful obeisances to the Lord, who said, "Oh brother, give me some of your best perfume." The perfume merchant immediately brought some of his best perfume, and Sri Sachinandana inquired, "What is the price?" The merchant replied, "You know, my dear sir, is it befitting for me to take money from you? Today you apply this oil and go home. If after taking bath tomorrow the fragrance still remains, then you may pay me whatever you like." After saying this, the merchant happily applied the perfume on the body of the Lord. The Lord is the super soul of all living entities. Therefore, he attracts the mind of all. Who is not attracted by seeing his beautiful form? Vishwambara bestowed his mercy on the merchant and then continued on to the house of a florist. When the florist saw Nimai's most wonderful form, he offered him obeisances and a place to sit. The Lord said, "O florist, I would like a nice garland, but I have no money with me." Appreciating that Nimai had the symptoms of a spiritually perfect soul, the florist said, "You don't need to pay." After saying this, the florist garlanded the Lord, who smiled in the company of his students. After casting his merciful glance on the florist, Gauranga went to the house of a nut merchant. The merchant saw Nimai's form as more enchanting than that of Cupid. He took dust from Nimai's feet and offered him a place to sit. The merchant said, "It is my great fortune that you have come to my house, insignificant as I am." In full satisfaction and without being asked, the merchant then offered betel nut to the Lord, who smiled. The Lord then said, "Why did you give me betel without payment?" The merchant replied, "I was inspired to." The Lord smiled on hearing the merchant's reply, and he chewed the betel nut with great satisfaction. The merchant then devotedly offered Nimai some pan, camphor, and other spices free of cost. After blessing the merchant, Gaura smiled as he continued wandering the streets of Navadvipa. The city of Navadvipa was just like Mathura. Millions of people belonging to different castes lived there. For the pleasure of the Lord, the Creator had previously supplied Navadvipa with all opulences. The son of Sachi now enjoyed the same pastimes that Krishna had previously enjoyed while wandering the streets of Mathura. Thereafter, Gaura visited the house of a conch merchant who offered the Lord due respect. The Lord said, "Oh, dear brother, let, let me see some beautiful conches. But alas, how will I take? I have no money." Just then the merchant placed a beautiful conch in Nimai's hand and offered him obeisances. "O Gosai, take this conch home with you. You may pay me later or not, it doesn't matter." Pleased by the words of the conch merchant, the Lord glanced mercifully on him and departed. In this way, the Lord visited every house in Navadvip. For this reason, even today, the residents of Navadvip attain the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. See, we can understand we should offer whatever we have for the service of the Lord. Mm. Of course, here these devotees were so fortunate that the Lord is personally coming to them. Mm. But it is through these pastimes that we have to learn. If we have Lakshmi by the grace of Narayana and Lakshmi, we should not hoard it. We should use it for Krishna's service. Right? And the Lord will be pleased, just like He is pleased with all these devotees. And here Vrindavan Das Thakur is saying, for this reason, what reason that they all gave happily in the service of the Lord, even today, the residents of Navadvip attain the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. They're so fortunate to have been born there. Because they're qualified, they're born there. And generally, we've seen, like when we go to Navadvip, Mayapur, etc., devotees, are in this habit of bargaining, just like they're ordinary merchants. Whether it is Vrindavan, whether it is in Mayapur, Navadvip, or any dham for that matter, we should not bring our material dealings there. We should understand that they are also dear to the Lord. And in fact, it's an opportunity for us to serve them. If suppose we give 10 rupees more for something, the Lord will be pleased that this devotee is serving my very dear devotee. I mean, we are not dear to the Lord. At least I can speak about myself. I'm not dear to the Lord, but those devotees who are born there are extremely dear to the Lord. So we can very easily please the Lord by serving them. So that is why it is very important. Any dham, we enter, we have to have the right mood. Unfortunately, we go with material mindset in the into the dham. Taking our la puja pratishtha, our money, our position, and our material vision, unfortunately. And then we see everything there on the mundane platform. Mm. And that is the reason we don't should not go, of course, unless we are very, very advanced. We should not try to go to yatras by ourselves. At least I don't think I have the maturity to go by myself to a dham and not be materially influenced by my fallen condition. So I prefer to be in the protection of other devotees. Right? And that way, at least we can remember when we see all other devotees that, oh, okay, I'm also supposed to be a devotee. And I also try to behave like one. So that is very, very important. The supremely independent Lord Gaurachandra then went to the house of an astrologer. As the astrologer saw the effulgence of the Lord, he humbly offered obeisances. The Lord asked him, I've heard that you're a good astrologer. Could you please tell me who I was in my previous birth? The pious astrologer agreed to the Lord's request and began to chant the Gopala mantra within his mind. At that moment, the astrologer saw a beautiful blackish personality with 4 hands holding the conch, disc, club, and lotus flower. His chest was decorated with Srivatsa and the brilliantly effulgent Kaustuba gem. He saw the Lord in the prison cell being offered prayers by his parents at the dead of night. He then saw Vasudeva carrying the Lord that night to Gokula. The astrologer again saw the Lord as an enchanting 2-armed naked child with a string of small bells around his waist and butter in his 2 hands. The astrologer saw his worshipable Lord decorated with all the symptoms that he had meditated on. So he was a devotee astrologer. He then again saw the threefold bending form of the Lord playing on his flute and surrounded on all sides by the gopis who were singing and playing various musical instruments. After seeing this wonderful vision, the astrologer opened his eyes and saw Gauranga standing before him. Then he again entered into meditation. The astrologer said, "Oh Balagopala, please listen. Quickly show me who this Brahmana was." The astrologer then saw the Lord with a greenish durva grass complexion, holding a bow in his hand and sitting on a royal throne. Thereafter, he saw the Lord in the middle of the waters of devastation. He had the wonderful form of a boar, and he held the earth on his tusk. He then saw the Lord as Narsimha, although he appeared most ferocious. He was the ultimate well-wisher of his devotees. Next, he saw the form of Vamana waiting to deceive Bali at his sacrifice. He then saw the form of Matsya happily sporting in the waters of devastation. The pious astrologer then saw the intoxicated form of Lord Balarama holding a plough and club in his hands. He next saw the form of Jagannatha with Balarama on his right and Subhadra in between. In this way, the astrologer saw the Lord's various incarnations. But due to the Lord's illusory energy, he was unable to ascertain the meaning of what he had seen. The astrologer was struck with wonder and thought, I think that this Brahmana is expert in chanting of mantras. Otherwise, he may be a demigod who has come disguised as a Brahmana to test me. I see a supernatural effulgence emanating from the body of this Brahmana. Has he come to discredit me? The Lord smiled and asked the thoughtful astrologer, Who am I? What did you see? Tell me everything in detail. The astrologer said, You please go home for now. I will tell you everything in the afternoon after I peacefully chant my mantra. Smiling, the Lord agreed to the astrologer's request and went to the house of his dear devotee Sridhara, Kolavecha Sridhara. Sridhara was very dear to the Lord's heart, and the Lord would therefore visit him on various pretexts. The Lord would tease Sridhara in the course of their regular conversations, which would last for an hour or two. When Sridhara saw that Nimai had arrived, he offered him obeisances and a place to sit. Sridhara was always peaceful in his behavior, while the Lord enjoyed playing the role of an agitated young man. The Lord said, Sridhara, you always chant the name of Hari. So why are you always afflicted by poverty? Can you please tell me why, after serving the beloved Lord of Lakshmi, you do not get sufficient food and clothes? Sridhara replied, at least I am not starving. And whether small or large, I am still wearing some cloth. See the mood of a devotee. The Lord said, but I see your cloth is mended in 10 places, and the roof of your cottage has no straw. Look at other people, they worship Chandi or Vishahari, so they have no scarcity for food or cloth. Sridhara then replied, O Brahmana, what you say is indeed correct, yet the time passes equally for everyone. The king has jewels in his house and he eats opulent food. Meanwhile, the birds live in the trees. Yet time passes equally for everyone as they all enjoy the fruits of their previous activities by the will of the Lord. The Lord then said, you have great wealth that you are secretly enjoying. I will soon disclose this to everyone. Then how will you cheat us? Sridhara said, oh Pandita, please go home now. It is not proper for us to argue. The Lord said, I'm going to leave you so easy. I'm not going to leave you so easily. First tell me what you will give me. Sridhara said, I maintain myself by selling leaf cups. So tell me, what can I give you, Gosai? Lord said, let your hidden treasure remain for now. I will take that later. For now, give me some bananas, banana flowers, and banana stalks free of charge. Then I won't argue with you. Sridhara thought, this Brahmana is very aggressive. I'm afraid that one day he will beat me. But even if he beats me, what can I do to a Brahmana? At the same time, I can't supply him free of charge every day. Anyway, whatever this Brahmana takes by force or deceit, that is my good fortune. So I'll continue to give him every day. Thinking in this way, Sridhara said, listen, Gosai, don't worry about money. I will happily give you some bananas, banana flowers, leaf cups, and banana stalks. But please don't fight with me. And the Lord said, good, then I won't fight anymore. But see that I get good quality bananas and banana stalks. The Lord daily used Sridhara's leaf cups and he ate sabjis made from Sridhara's plantains, banana flowers, and banana stalks. Whenever a squash grew on the roof of Sridhara's cottage, the Lord would eat it, cooked with milk and black pepper. And the Lord then said, tell me, what do you think of me? After you answer this, I'll go home. Sridhara replied, you're a Brahmana, a portion of Lord Vishnu. The Lord said, you don't know, actually, I am from a Gopa family. Although you see me as the son of a Brahmana, I consider myself a cowherd boy. Sridhara smiled at the Lord's words, but due to the illusory energy, he could not recognize his Lord. The Lord then said, Sridhara, let me tell you the truth. The glories of your Ganges are due to me. Sridhara replied, Nimai Pandita, aren't you afraid of insulting Ganga in this way? One is supposed to become sober as he grows up, but I see that your restlessness has doubled. After joking with Sridhara in this way, Lord Gauranga returned to his home. Sri Gaurasundara sat down at the door of his Vishnu temple and his students all returned to their homes. As Nimai saw the full moon one night, his heart became absorbed in the mood of Sri Vrindavana Chandra. Nimai then began to play a flute in a most enchanting tune, which only Mother Sachi could hear. When Mother Sachi heard the sound of that flute which attracts the three worlds, she fell unconscious in ecstasy. After a while, she regained consciousness and steadied her mind. As she continued listening to the wonderful sound of the flute, Sachi then noticed that the enchanting sound of the flute was coming from the direction where Nimai was sitting. Mother Sachi came outside in astonishment and saw that her son was sitting at the door of the Vishnu temple. She could no longer hear the sound of the flute, but she saw the full moon on the chest of her son. Seeing the moon on the chest of her son, Sachi was struck with wonder and began looking around. Mother Sachi then went back inside and began to think about the reason for such a vision. In this way, the most fortunate Mother Sachi saw unlimited manifestations of opulence. One night, Sachi heard hundreds of people singing and playing musical instruments. By the sound of dancing and various wind instruments, she considered that a grand Rasa Leela festival was taking place. One day, all she could see was a brilliant spiritual effulgence permeating her house. On another day, she saw many divine women who all had lotus flowers in their hands and resembled the goddess of fortune. One day, she saw the effulgent demigods, but when she looked again, she couldn't see them. It is not astonishing that Shachi had such visions, for the Vedas describe her as the personification of devotional service to Lord Vishnu. Whoever receives the merciful glance of Mother Shachi becomes eligible to see such opulences. In this way, Sri Gaura Sundara, who is non different from Lord Krishna, lived in Navadvipa incognito while relishing his own ecstasy. Although the Lord manifested his opulences in various ways, his servants were still unable to recognize him. The arrogance that was sportingly displayed by Nimai was unmatched throughout Navadvipa. The pastimes enjoyed by the Lord are supreme in all respects. Whenever the Lord desires to fight, he becomes the topmost hero, and no one can surpass his prowess with weapons. Whenever the Lord desires to enjoy conjugal pastimes, he manifests millions of beautiful women. Whenever the Lord desires to enjoy opulence, he fills his servants' homes with millions of oceans of wealth. In this way, the arrogant nature now manifest by the Lord immediately vanished when he accepted the path of renunciation. At that time, not even fragrant of the renunciation and devotion that he manifests could be found throughout the three worlds. Is this possible for anyone else? The activities of the Lord are supreme in all respects, but it is his nature to accept defeat at the hands of his devotees. One day, Nimai, along with 5 or 7 students, was walking down the main road. Nimai was dressed like a king. The yellow cloth that covered his body made him look just like Krishna. As he chewed betel nut, his face resembled millions of moons. People who saw him inquired, "Is he Cupid?" His forehead was decorated with tilaka, and in his hands he carried some books. A glance from his lotus eyes destroyed all sins. As the restless natured Lord walked along with his students, his arms swung back and forth. By providence, Shiva's Pandit was coming from the opposite direction at that time. Upon seeing the Lord, Shivas began to laugh loudly. Nimai offered obeisances to Shivas, who blessed Nimai by saying, "Live forever." Shiva smiled and inquired, "Oh, best of the arrogant, where are you going? Why do you uselessly waste your time by not worshipping Krishna? Why do you spend day and night simply teaching mundane knowledge? Why do people study? Education is only for understanding devotional service of Lord Krishna. Therefore, don't uselessly waste your time any longer. You studied enough. Now you should worship Krishna." Nimai smiled and said, "Listen, Pandita, that will certainly be done by your mercy." After speaking in this way, Mahaprabhu smiled and departed for the bank of the Ganges, where he met his students. Sri Sachinandana then sat on the bank of the Ganges with his students surrounding him on all sides. I could not describe the beauty of that scene even if I had millions of mouths. There's no comparison in the three worlds. I cannot compare that scene with the moon surrounded by stars, because the moon has spots and it also waxes and wanes. This Lord, however, is eternally complete and spotless. Therefore, a comparison with the moon is unjustified. I cannot compare Nimai with even Brihaspati, because Brihaspati is partial to the demigods. This Lord, however, is partial to everyone, and therefore a comparison with Brihaspati is also unjustified. Now, can I compare Nimai with Cupid? Because if Cupid appears in one's heart, the heart becomes agitated. When this Lord appears in one's heart, however, all one's material bondage is destroyed and his heart becomes pure and happy. Therefore, all these comparisons are improper. But there is one comparison that I can think of. Just as the son of Nanda enjoyed his pastime sitting amongst the cowherd boys on the bank of the Yamuna, the same Krishna in the form of a Brahmana now enjoyed pastime sitting with those same cowherd boys on the bank of the Ganges. Whoever saw the Lord's face as he sat on the bank of Ganges attained indescribable happiness. Seeing the Lord's extraordinary effulgence, everyone on the bank of the Ganges began to whisper to one another. Someone said, an ordinary human does not have such effulgence. Someone else said, this Brahmana is a portion of Lord Vishnu. Another said, I think he will fulfill the prediction that a Brahmana will become the king of Gauda, for he has all the symptoms of a king. In this way, everyone spoke according to their understanding. Meanwhile, the Lord pointed out faults in the other teachers as he engaged in explaining the scriptures on the bank of the Ganges. Nimai established correct statements as incorrect and incorrect statements as correct. Then, after refuting all other explanations, he again established the proper meaning with new explanations. The Lord said, I consider a person learned if he is able to discuss with me. Who has the power to refute me by establishing a different explanation? As the Lord exhibited his pride in this way, he smashed the pride of all others. And this was the reason he exhibited his pride, was to just destroy the pride of all others. The Lord had innumerable students who studied in groups under his direction. Every day, 10 or 20 Brahmana boys came to offer obeisances to the Lord. They would say, Oh Pandita, we wish to study with you. Please be merciful, so that we may learn something. The Lord smiled and said, Good, good. Thus the number of his students increased day by day. The Lord of Vaikuntha would sit amidst the circle of his students on the bank of the Ganges. Fortunate people watched from all sides, and by the influence of the Lord, the entire city of Navadvipa became free from lamentation. Who can calculate the good fortune of the pious souls who saw those pastimes? Just by seeing a pious soul who has seen those pastimes, one is freed from material bondage. My sinful birth did not take place at that time. Therefore, I was cheated from seeing those pastimes. Still, O Gaurachandra, please be merciful to me so that I may remember those pastimes birth after birth. Wherever you and Nityananda perform pastimes with your associates, may I be present there as a servant. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavana Dasa, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhyo cha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.